What's going on, guys? Boss6 here, back to your video, and today I'm here for another collection update video for you guys. This one is probably the most interesting one I have done on my channel so far, considering that quite a few stuff is going to be some newer material that I either A, did a review of, or B, didn't have a chance to check out. So this one's going to be a little bit interesting to do, considering that this is 20 albums I'm going to be talking about. Yeah, 20 albums, which, yeah, that's quite a little bit. So, without wasting any time, let's just get straight into these collection updates here. AC/DC, Power Up. This is the latest studio offering from these Australian hard rock legends. It's AC/DC. Do I really need to go into further detail with this band? I don't think I need to. It's just Australian rock legends doing their own thing. I did like the one of the singles off this album, Shot in the Dark, which is actually a pretty cool song. It was actually the theme for Survivor Series 2020 for you wrestling fans, which is a pretty good song, I will admit. But Realize, Through the Fires, Through the Mist of Time is pretty cool. Witch's Spell, Demon Fire. There's a little bit of nods to, for those who are about to rock, which I really do like. Again, it's AC/DC. Do we need to go into further detail with this band? So, if you just want some solid hard rock from the pioneers of, or from the grandfathers of them, then you're gonna listen. You're gonna love this album. So, yeah, it's AC/DC. Not much more needs to be said, and I give it a solid recommendation. Carcass, Despicable EP. This is the latest EP from these British originators of gore grind, a little bit of grindcore, but now death metal / melodic death metal legends. I still need to get more Carcass in my in my collection, but I found this at the record store and I'm like, I don't collect EPs, but I'm willing to check this bastard out because this came out before the Torn Arteries album that came out in 2021, when it was originally supposed to be released in 2020, but we all know what happened there. This is a fantastic EP. There's only 4 tracks, but all 4 of them kick so much ass, and this is just damn good stuff. I mean, the riffs on this album by Bill Steer are just flat out fantastic. The production's really good. There's like some keyboards and some organs done by Tom Draper. The vocals on this album are just really damn good by Jeff Walker. He's just snarling his guts out on this album. Again, it's only 4 tracks, but The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue is really good. It's the longest track on the entire album. The Long and Winding Byre Road's really good. Under the Scalpel Blade, which will actually be on Torn Arteries, that's a really nice kind of catchy jammer right there. And Slaughter in Soho. Great stuff all around, and the back of the album is really cool too. Yeah, this is just fantastic stuff. Again, it's 4 tracks. It's a little under 20 minutes, but is it a damn good under 20 minutes? So yeah, if you just want some really solid death metal with a little bit of melodic edge to it, check this out. You will not be disappointed. All in all, big recommendation. Alright, the next 3 albums I have are from Norwegian black metal legends Darkthrone. And, well, spoiler, it's the Unholy Trinity. Basically, their first 3 black metal albums of the 90s. And, of course, starting off with 1992's Ablaze, or 1991, my apologies, Ablaze in the Northern Sky. This is a black metal classic. This is just fantastic stuff. I would say all around, like, I would say one of, if not the best black metal album to come out of Norway of all time, because this is just fantastic stuff. Of course, you got Nocturnal Cult to Fenris and Sephiroth, however the hell you say his name, but this one has a little bit of an interesting story because their first album, Soulside Journey, was actually a death metal album, which was more akin of like Entomb, Dismember, Carnage, Unleashed, all that fun stuff. But then a little friend by the name of Euronymous decided to kind of tell them that, no, you need to do this and not that. And essentially they went and did more black metal and crafted just some brilliant stuff. There is still a little bit of some death metal in here. But from top to bottom, this is just I would say a perfect album in my opinion. Catharian Life Code, god damn, that track's really good. That is just 10 minutes of just riff, fuzz, and just full-on blasphemy right there. And the Shout of the Horns, Paragon Belial, Where Cold Wind Blows. The title track is really nice. It has almost a bit of a Deep Purple vibe, which is kind of weird. It has a little bit of a 70s rock jam right there. And Pagan Winter is really, really, really damn good. And even features Dag Nielsen, who would be the session bassist, who I believe would be I believe it would actually be canned not too long after this album is released. But yeah, this is just some killer stuff. And you have a spooky dude right there. I apologize for the reflection, but if you could see it. Yeah, it's a dude that looks like a cemetery, and he is shrieking about wind, I guess. And it kind of fitting considering that Halloween's coming around. So, yeah, all in all, really damn good stuff. Huge recommendation right here. And then we follow that up with, I believe this came out, 1993's Under a Funeral Moon. And this, I believe, is the 2023 remaster, which I believe this is also a remaster too. No, this is just the 2023 remaster. This is a more notable shift in the band's sound, mainly in production. The production got a lot more raw, got a little more raw on this album. And, yeah, you can certainly tell, that this was kind of a, changing of the guard, if you will, for Darkthrone, because this is some really, really, really damn good stuff right here. Nastasia and Eternal Sleep's really good. Summer of the Diabolical Holocaust is pretty fun. Dance of Eternal Shadows. To Walk the Infernal Fields is one of my all-time Darkthrone songs. The title track. Crossing the Triangle of Flames. Killer stuff. A killer follow-up. And it's even labeled True Norwegian Black Metal, which is pretty funny because on Blaze of Northern Sky, if Fenris says, well, if there was death metal on it, then there were only, if it was true black metal, there would only be 4 songs on it, which I think is pretty funny. So, yeah, again, it's a little more raw, it's colder than the Witch's Tit, and, yeah, it's fantastic. It is great stuff all around, and, yeah, can't get enough of this album. It even says, grimly produced by Darkthrone, which is pretty funny. So yeah, great follow-up in my opinion, and all in all, top to bottom, perfection in my opinion. Can't get enough of it. Give this a big recommendation. And finally, to close out the Unholy Trinity, I of course have probably the most notable album, 1994's Transylvanian Hunger. This is certainly a very divisive album in the band's entire discography. Notably the production. The production got even more raw on this album to the point where it sounds like a freaking demo or even an EP. And, yeah, again, it's very, it is very, divisive because of that production, because this was a 4-track recorded in, Furnace's bedroom, which, yeah, you could certainly tell. And, I love this album. I think this album whips ass, and you kind of have to get in the mindset for this album, in my opinion, because I actually listened to this while I was driving in a thunderstorm where it was raining really badly on my way to get my allergy shots, and I was just blaring this thing on the speakers and just getting enticed and just entranced by the music, and this is just killer stuff. Now, I guess the one knock on this album is that this eventually would lead to the depressive suicidal black mark genre or black metal genre that I absolutely hate. But this from top to bottom is just great stuff. And another thing too I should mention is that Darkthrone were we're kind of getting accompanied by a known Bible lover and everything thing that is loving of Jewish, Varg Vikernes of Burzum, aka the most overrated black metal band of all time. Yeah, they associate with him on this album. Lovely. Now, in the band's defense, they didn't know anything about what Varg was doing, and they were dumb at the time, so they didn't know any better. And Varg is a piece of shit, but that's besides the point. But there's some really damn good tracks on here, like the title track's really good. All of these are almost in Norwegian, so I do apologize. Let's see, Skald as Satan Sol, Slatet in Ferna, which translates to Castle in the Distance. Graven Takenheimen Sailor, I think that's how you say it. As Fluttermice as Satan Spies, I don't even know what the fuck that means. In as Hyde Dag Skagan, I don't even know how to say half of these freaking songs. Point is, this is a great album. Again, I know a lot of people are very divisive on this album, mainly for the production. I love this album. I think this is a killer album that the band has released. And I would say one of the best black metal albums that come out of the 90s, in my opinion. So yeah, top to bottom, really damn good stuff. And I do give all those albums, a big recommendation. Refreshing. Flotsam and Jetsam, I Am the Weapon. This is the latest studio offering from these. For some reason, they're part of the Bay Area thrash scene, even though these guys are from Phoenix. I do know of these guys, obviously, because I did listen to the early stuff, and I still stand by that Doomsday for the Deceiver is one of the most underrated thrash debuts of all time. That is just a killer debut, and gave way to a young Jason Newsted. Granted that his bass was better used on that album than on Metallica's albums, but that's besides the point. This album is fan-frickin-tastic. I didn't have a chance to review this album, unfortunately, because I was busy with family. Killer shit. Killer shit. And even looking at the album cover. The album cover looks pretty cool, even though it may look a little AI-ish, maybe a little bit, but it looks cool. It looks something out of a Dungeon, or out of Game of Thrones, which looks pretty cool, but this is just killer thrash with more of a melodic edge to it, which is really good, but A New Kind of Hero is great. Primal, probably my favorite track on the entire album, has one of the best choruses I've ever heard. Eric is just howling his guts off on this album, which is absolutely great. The title track, Burn My Bridges. The Head of the Snake is a big thrasher. Beneath the Shadows, Gates of Hell, Cold Steel Lights, which kind of has a little bit of a throwback to the 80s, like a little bit of a new wave of British heavy metal vibe to it, which is pretty cool. Kings in the Underworld, Running Through the Fire is really good, and Black Wings, which has this very dark tone to it, is probably a very haunting way to end the album too, and I really didn't expect it, but holy shit, kind of a mood change there. And again, I was listening to this album when I was approaching that same thunderstorm that I was talking about with the Darkthrone stuff. Yeah, this is just killer stuff. This is probably one of my, if not my favorite thrash album of the year. I would probably say maybe top 5, top 3 so far, because this thing is just killer. Again, production's fantastic. Yeah, just I can't get enough of this album. This is very good. Love this album. This is some great shit. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's on my year-end list, which is getting even more harder to do. Hooray! So yeah, good stuff all around. Absolutely great. And I can't get enough of it. Definitely check this one out. Incantation, Onward to Golgotha. This is the debut studio offering from these New York Death Doom, I would say legends at this point. Good lord, this album is the epitome of gross. Just look at that album cover first of all, if you guys can see apart from the reflection, but I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but it looks disgusting, and that's exactly what this album is. This album will give you perma-stink face. It's just, ugh, it's just nasty sounding. And I literally felt like my car was, like, the speakers were about to ooze out, like, some kind of goo from how disgusting this album is. Like, the opening track, Golgotha, is just, like, very blast beat driven song. Like, I would say, like, a good, like, 70% of this album is actually death metal, and the 30% is more death doomy. But the more death metal stuff's really good. Again, Golgotha, I would say Devour Death's really good. Unholy Massacre, Entrapment of Evil, Prophanatia, Eternal Torture. But when it gets to the doomy stuff, oh my god, it is full-on sour lemons. Like, Rotting Spiritual Embodiment, I would say A Blasphemous Creation, Christening the Afterbirth. Oh, it's just, disgusting. I can't say much more about it. Like, literally, if you were taking a shower while listening to this album, you might want to take another shower because you still won't get the stench from all the filth and dirt that's on this album. And it's just killer stuff. I also love the production. I think the production's really good in this album, especially for 1992. And I believe this is the 2006 remake, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I can't get enough of this. This is just some killer stuff. Has a little bit of an Immolation vibe too, which gives us a plus in my opinion. But yeah, killer stuff all around, and I can't get enough of it. Craig Pillard's vocals are just, disgusting. And look at Craig Pillard. He's not really a nice guy in terms of his beliefs, but yeah, despite that, this is just killer stuff all around. Big recommendation right here. Morbid Saint, Swallowed by Hell. I almost forgot the title of it. This is the latest studio offering from these Wisconsin underground thrash legends. I went over this album, and I can't get enough of this album. This album rips from start to finish, and this is actually the album sleeve because the album cover is actually right here. And, I mean, it's nothing different per se, but that's actually really cool. This is essentially Slayer on steroids, and I heard that the first album is just balls to the wall thrash, and nothing's really going to stand in their way per se. And if it sounds anything like this, I can honestly agree, because my god, this thing is just heavy from start to finish. And I mean, look at that Ed Repka cover. That is just beautiful right there. Yeah, killer stuff all around. Rise from the Ashes, the title track. Bloody Floors has this awesome bass intro, which is really nice. Burn Pit, Fear Incarnate, Fuck 'Em All's pretty good. Bleed 'Em Dry. Pine Tuxedo's pretty funny. Killer Instinct, Psychosis. I mean, just top to bottom killer stuff. And also shout out to the bassist on this album, Bob Zabel. I believe that's how you say his name. He actually commented. He actually liked my reviews, so thanks, man. I appreciate the comment. So, yeah, just killer stuff all around. Probably number 2 thrash album of the year for me. Again, can't get enough of it. Huge fan of it. Check this one out. You will not be disappointed. Napalm Death, Order of the Leash. This is the 10th studio offering from these British grindcore legends, the Godfathers of Grind themselves. This was an interesting point in Napalm Death's career, considering that the 90s weren't really too kind to them, at least in the later on in the decade. Early on, they were absolutely flying on all cylinders, especially with Harmony Corruption and Utopia Banished. But when the 90s came around, they kind of stripped down, got a little more groove metal, and they just weren't liking the sound, even to the point where Barney Greenway actually left the band, but then came back for the next few albums. And after the 90s, they made Enemy of the Music Business, which was kind of their, like, breakup album with Earache Records. This was more so the follow-up to it, and while I have not heard much from Enemy of the Music Business, I can certainly hear the hatred, especially that Earache has given the band for this, because This is just some really damn good grindcore with a little bit of death metal, but you throw in some more groove in there, especially on like continuing war and stupidity, icing on a hate, forced to fear, narcoleptic is pretty good. To lower yourself, blind servitude's really good. Lowest common denominator. Forward is disarmed. Per capita, blows to the body. Ooh, that's a brutal one. The only track I don't like on it is the Great Capulator. The track itself is pretty good, but after it ends, it's nothing but silence. And I hate it when a band does that or when an album company does that. It's just like, dude, just make another track or just cut the air out. Like, literally, it makes no sense why bands do that. So yeah, it kind of irked me why they would do that, but all in all, this is just some great stuff all around. Yeah, really good stuff. I really enjoy this. Might be middle of the row if I do a Napalm Death ranking, but all in all, solid stuff. And I'm about to say it comes in my number 6. Yeah, good stuff all around. I do give this a recommendation. Satan, Songs in Crimson. This is the latest studio offering from these new wave of British heavy metal veterans. Again, this and the Flotsam and Jetsam album I did not have a chance to review, but I finally got it online, and I've kind of heard a little bit of a divisiveness with this album. Some people like it, some people don't. I personally really like this album. I know a big complaint I've heard was like the production, and they didn't like the sound that they were going for. I personally liked it. I like that kind of like analog recording that they were going for. It really sounds very 70s and 80s to me personally. And it's just like some really damn good stuff like Frantic Zero, Era the Day Will Come, Horror of Babylon's really good. Sacramental Rites is good. Martyrdom, Turn the Tide. Truth Bullets, really fun, and a Deadly Crimson. Yeah, this is just really damn good stuff. I'll probably give this maybe a 4 out of 5 if I'm going to be completely honest. I fairly enjoyed this album. I thought this one was some really damn good stuff. And I mean, look at the back of the album. It looks really cool. And again, like, this sounds like it may have came out maybe in like 85 or maybe in the 70s if we're going to be completely honest. But yeah, this is just some really damn good stuff. Really enjoy this album. So, yeah, if you love some classic heavy metal with a more of an 80s sound to it, you're going to check this, you're going to love this album. So, all in all, I give it a recommendation. Good stuff right here. Alright, the next 4 albums I have are from one of my favorite bands of all time, the almighty Sepultura. And the first one I have, 1989's Beneath the Remains. This is a thrash classic. If you guys have seen my Sepultura ranking that I did, I ranked this at number 4. This one is just killer stuff throughout. Or actually, no, I ranked this number 3. That was number 3, my bad. This is just good shit all around. I can't get enough of this album. I mean, first of all, that album cover is fantastic. And this is the remaster version, too, if I believe. No, it actually is not. No, it is. Never mind. My bad. I looked at it wrong. But I love every track on it. Like, the opening title track is great. Inner Self, Stronger Than Hate, Mass Hypnosis, Slaves of Pain, Lobotomy, Hungry's really good, especially Brainy Brain. Love that same from Max. And Primitive Future is really good too. Production is fantastic because they got the great Scott Burns to do production. Has a little more of a death metal feel to it, so I guess you can kind of label this as a death thrash album. This is just fantastic shit. Great stuff all around. Again, Brazilian badassery abound on this album. And yeah, can't get enough of it. Yeah. My number 3 Sepultura album of all time. Then we got Arise. It came out in 1991. This is my number 1. I know a lot of people say this is the best Sepultura album. I sometimes disagree, but yeah, I gotta agree with this one. This is just fantastic stuff. It basically picks off where Beneath the Remains left off, But add a little more groove to this bad boy, and you will have yourself a really nice Sepultura cake. The title track is one of my favorites. Dead Embryonic Cells. Desperate Cry, arguably my favorite Sepultura song. Murder, Subtraction, Altered State, Meaningless Movements. I can't get enough of this album, dude. And, of course, that album cover is iconic. And, yeah, my favorite Sepultura album. And, yeah, great stuff all around. And then, we get the follow-up to that. We get Chaos AD that came out in 1991. Or 1993, my bad. This is a more notable shift in the band's sound. This is where they went more towards the groove metal. But they still kept that thrashiness and add a little more of a hardcore bite to it. And what we got is just some great shit right here. I love damn near every track. This, I believe, was my number 5 Sepultura album. Refuse, Resist, Territory, Slave New World, Amen, Propaganda, Biotech as Godzilla is really good. Nomad. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. It was produced by Andy Wallace, too. Yeah, just great stuff all around. Again, this is an album I can't get enough of. Great stuff all around. Big recommendation there. Ooh. And then we get to possibly their last album that they've ever made. 2020's Quatra. This is my number 4 Sepultura album that I ranked. This is just killer shit right here. This essentially is kind of the more progression in terms of songwriting off they left off on Machine Messiah. But they still have some more heavy notes, like the opening Isolation is one of my favorite Sepultura songs. Capital Enslavement, Means to an End. Ali is great. Guardians of Earth. The Pentagram's really good. Agony of the Feet. I'd say killer shit right here. If the Sepultura name was going to retire and the band were going to do other stuff and this would be the last Sepultura album we do, I would say this is a great way to call it a career because this is just some killer shit right here. Absolutely love this album. Can't get enough of it. Big recommendation, and a big recommendation to all those other albums that I did mention. Severe Torture. Torn from the Jaws of Death. This is the latest studio offering from these Dutch death metal act. I've heard of these guys, but I didn't fully check out an album by them, so I came into this one with fresh ears. Holy shit, this album rips. This is just a killer album that these guys released. And, yeah, it's just great stuff all around. The Death of Everything, Marked by Blood and Darkness, Hogtied and Rope, the title track, Christ Immersion, Putrid Remains, The Pinnacle of Suffering's fantastic, Through Pain and Emptiness, Those Who Wish Me Dead, Tear All the Flesh Off the Earth. Like, there's just some brutal songs on this. There's like some brutal death metal moments that kind of reminds me a little bit of Suffocation. But the leads are so damn melodic on this album. Like, there's a lot of nods to, like, I would say maybe a little bit of Asphyx. I might get a little bit of Asphyx vibes off of this album, and maybe to a lesser extent a little bit of At the Gates in terms of the melodies. But yeah, killer stuff. I guess the only complaint is that some of the songs kind of run together, but that didn't affect me personally. But yeah, this is just great shit all around, and I give this one a big recommendation. Sharper, When We Were Kings. This is the latest studio offering from these quote Christian metal act from California, but they're more so of a classic heavy metal / power metal act, in my opinion. I've always liked this band, especially their early work's really good. I haven't checked out more of their modern work, but when I heard they came out with a new album, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to it, and it's all right. It's solid. I guess the main complaint is that there's not a lot of standout tracks on this album to me personally. But it's still a good album. Again, it just didn't really do a whole lot for me in the outset of things. But End of Days, the title track, Love Symphony, Trinity is pretty solid. Rhyme of Time, Divided by Design is pretty good. Rapture's pretty fun. I guess just the main complaint is that it kind of just has a formula and just sticks with it. So there's that, but it's solid for what it is. Again, not going to complain too much. Michael Sweet's vocals are still really good. They're still pretty prominent on this album, but yeah, it's all right. It's solid for what it is. Yeah, not going to complain too much. Probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5 if I were to rank it or rate it. So yeah, all in all, it's all right. And I give it a little bit of a recommendation. Unto Others, Never Never Land. This is the latest studio offering from these Portland goth rock, goth metal act. I have heard of this band, mainly for their last song, which I heard was really, really, really damn good. But again, I wanted to check this one out because I've heard some good stuff about them. And this is pretty good. I'm not sure if it's album of the year contender for me personally, because the main gripe I really have with this album, it's a bit bloated. There was about maybe, I'd say almost 20 tracks on this thing. And yeah, it's not looking all that great. It's not, yeah, 20 tracks, not really my cup of vodka, but there's some really good songs, like the opening track, Butterfly, is really good. Mama Likes the Door Closed is like a bit of a thrashy hardcore bite. Angel of the Night, Suicide Today, Sunshine, When the Kids Get Caught's really fun. Time Goes On. The title track's really good. They even do a cover of Pet Sematary too, which by the Ramones, which is kind of fun, but yeah, it's solid. Again, I think it's a little too bloated for my liking, but yeah, not gonna complain too much about it. Still really good. Got some nice moments of Type O Negative. So yeah, solid stuff all around. I give it a recommendation. Venom, black metal. This is the second studio offering from these British proto-black metal, thrash metal, speed metal act, a little bit of a new wave British heavy metal act right there. I love this band. I really, really, really do. I know a lot of people are kind of shit on this band for all the right and wrong reasons, in my opinion, but I think this album is fan-frickin-tastic, in my opinion. This is basically, essentially, a bit of a continuation to Welcome to Hell. Like, Welcome to Hell is kind of where black metal started, in my opinion. And I feel like this was a perfect continuation of that sound, because there was just some full-on, just flat-out bangers. Like, the title track's great, To Hell and Back, Raise the Dead's very good, Teacher's Pet's a classic, Leave Me in Hell, Sacrifice, Heaven's on Fire, Countess Bathory, Don't Burn the Witch is a fantastic album closer. It's a bit of a thrashy bite. Yeah, good stuff. Really, really, really good stuff right here. Again, that album cover with the goat with the pentagram on its head is very classic as well. Yeah, killer stuff. If I ever to rank Venom, this might be up in my top 3, because I can't get enough of this album. I love the production, I love the vocals, I love the instrumentation throughout. Great shit all around. Damn good stuff. Huge recommendation. Wasp. Or actually, the last two I have are both by Wasp. The first one I have is their self-titled album. They came out in 1984. 30 years since this album came out. And it's a classic. I'm not going to mix, gonna have any if and or buts about it. This is a classic in heavy metal right here. Not much more needs to be said about this album that hasn't been said. The opening track, Animal Fuck Like a Beast, absolutely banger of a song. I Want to Be Somebody, Love Machine, The Flame, Bad, School Days, Hellion, Sleeping in the Fire was fantastic, On Your Knees, Tormentor, The Torture Never Stops is a great album closer. Killer stuff all around. Again, I can't really say much about this album that hasn't already been said. If I were to rank Wasp, this is probably top 2, maybe number 1 in my opinion. And yeah, just killer stuff all around. I can't get enough of it, and I give it a huge recommendation. And then the last one we have is their second album, The Last Command, that came out in 1985. This is basically a continuation of their self-titled album. Production got a little more bigger on this album, and I would say this is just as good, if not better, than their self-titled, because again, I love every track on this album. Like, of course, the opening Wild Child is a classic. Ball Crusher is great. Fistful of Diamonds, Widowmaker, Blind in Texas, Cries in the Night. The title track's one of my all-time favorite Wasp songs. Running Wild in the Street, Sex Drive's really good. They even do a cover of Mississippi Queen by Mountain, which is pretty good. And Savage is a really nice bonus track as well. Yeah, this is just killer stuff all around, and I can't get enough of it. Really damn good stuff. Huge recommendation right here. So, folks, that is it for my collection update. Again, 20 albums, and I kind of sped through it a little bit because I didn't want to waste too much time on this one. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did, make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap the big red subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Most importantly, join the herd. Talk guys in the next video. Peace out.